So I was looking at Marvel's page the other day and saw that they had posted a trailer for a new Miles comic. And whoa, lo and behold, thank God they changed that awful costume. I was wondering, when, Marvel, will you change this costume? Because it was terrible, man. And I can't be the only one who thought that. To be honest, it was like a, I'm gonna be honest, it was like a freaking stereotype. And it seems like that's what Marvel has been doing with Miles for the past couple of years, because you have that costume, and then don't let me even start on that god awful Miles Thor comic. You know what? No, I'm not gonna talk about it. If you know what that is, then you know what I'm talking about. I don't know how that got past editorial. Marvel needs to be, whoever wrote that, whoever okayed that you all need to be slapped and thrown in some type of writing class somewhere. But that's not the point of this conversation right now. Okay. Miles has a new team of writers on his book, and that's a very good thing, because Miles has been in limbo, unfortunately, since he got into the 616 universe, and it's like they don't know how to write him. And that's funny coming from me. I mean, it's not like I created Miles, but they don't know how to write him. And I see so many people say this same comment: oh, Miles is not as important as he was in the Ultimate Universe because he's here with Peter, and that just, it like negates him. And it's like, no, he is not that he's not as important, is that the people don't know what to do with him, and is made painfully obvious because Miles has been in the 616 for like what, 5 or 6 years now, and what has he done? I mean, he's fought 616 Miles twice now, and he had this whole situation where he got abducted by the Assessor, I think his name was, and that went all of nowhere, honestly. I mean, it really wasn't a big story. And then in this most recent run, he had clones, which was a bad idea, but we're not going to get into that. And again, Miles has been struggling, man. Actually, he's been struggling pretty much as Peter has, but it's on a different level. Now, if I were writing Miles, I would throw some new villains at him, like some actual Miles unique villains, some people that he takes on. Not some people he can go to Peter and be like, hey Peter, you know, what do I do about this guy? No, we need a situation, or we need villains who Miles has to figure out how to deal with on his own. And luckily, it looks like the new writers in charge have taken that into account. Now, Miles has had, and this isn't to say that he has to have black writers, but Miles has not had a black writer until now. Brian Michael Bendis created Miles, and he wrote him for a while. And then, I don't want to mispronounce the guy's name, but I think it's Saladin Ahmed, I think his name is. He was the one writing it for the past couple of years. But again, there was never a black writer for Miles, and I think that will go a long way towards maybe fixing some of the issues with how he's portrayed in the comics. Now, we also need to take into account that even though there is a black writer writing it now, that does not necessarily mean that he's the godsend that we're waiting on. I mean, I looked the guy up and I found a picture of him with pink hair, so, well, that's concerning. But I will say this much: in the trailer, it does look like he's introduced some type of new villain that Miles is facing off against. He's got this like yellow and black color scheme to him. You really can't get a good look at him from the trailer, but he's new. That's a step in the right direction. Another thing I would say is that give Miles, and they have, you know what, I'll be fair, Miles has had a somewhat steady love interest in the past 2 years. I don't know if they're official because I had stopped keeping up with it after they put Miles in that awful costume, but Vulture's granddaughter, that I can't think of her name right now, I'll put it up on the screen for you, but Vulture's granddaughter has been there as his kind of steady love interest, since the past, or since her inception, I guess. And that's good, that's great. That's something stable. I would say I would hope she would become a more regular character in his comics. Again, people always want to compare Miles to Peter Parker, and obviously that makes sense, but I would say that I would like for her to become, if she's going to be his mainstay love interest, I would say I would want her to become his Mary Jane, and I want her to appear not just on the Spider-Man side or on his Spider-Man side. It would be nice to see her more out of her costume and on the Miles side, see her interact with him on the human level, not the superhuman level. So that's something else that I think that would go a long way for Miles' character. Now, the last thing I would say is Peter Parker himself. I said this in my Spider-Man video a few weeks ago about what Marvel needs to do to fix Peter Parker. Peter and Miles are in the same city. There is no reason why we shouldn't see them interact more than they do. In the comics, they pop up after 20 issues, and one of them will pop up in the other's issue, and they'll have this really quick 2-page adventure or something like that, and then that's that. I'm exaggerating, of course, but that's kind of what it is. Now, in the Insomniac game, we see Miles and Peter interact a lot, obviously. Now, in Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though Peter has gone out of the country for a little bit, he is calling and texting Miles and everything to see how he's doing. And that's kind of the same thing I would like to see in the comics. I would like to see them, I guess, Peter doesn't have to be there all the time when Miles is dealing with stuff, but it would be nice if he's there more, because again, they're in the same city. They're both Spider-Man. And to be honest, even though Miles has been a thing for about 10 years now, it doesn't mean he has all the experience he needs. It would definitely pay to see Peter pop up a little more and be like, hey, let's run through these things. And on that note, I almost forgot. Peter is kind of like a guardian to Miles in a way. Well, I'm sorry, he's a mentor to Miles. Or he's supposed to be, even though the comics haven't really showcased that too much. The fact that Miles' parents know that he's Spider-Man, it almost makes things a bit easier for Miles in a way, because he doesn't have that same dynamic that Peter had with Aunt May, where he has to hide his identity and sneak around and everything. And that's fine, that's fair. They didn't want to have him go down that same path, but I would say that any normal parents, if they knew that their child was a superhero, would probably be a little more tight-gripped, even if they're okay with it. That's just parents, right? You're gonna care about your kids, and with Miles going out doing these things, it's kind of one of those situations where you think, okay, at what point do they see him get hit or something on TV and then start getting nervous and scared and things of that nature. So maybe incorporate a little more of his parents maybe being a slight issue. Again, I don't know what this new run is going to bring. I'm definitely going to cover it when it starts. Hopefully it brings a lot of good things. Again, they already made the right decision of putting Miles in his actual costume again. That is what got my attention in that video. Like the thumbnail of showing him in his costume, not that crap he's been wearing for the past 2 years, in his costume. That got my attention, and that made me want to watch the video. So I have been telling myself that for a while. I was like, hey, when are you gonna put Miles back in his costume? Because the other costume was so bad, I just didn't want to read the comic. I'm sorry. I'm mean. Okay, I'm a mean critic. But look, all I'm saying is that you have a chance, Marvel, again, to do Miles some justice. Again, I say, give him his own rogues gallery. It's not that hard. I don't know why they haven't tried harder to do that. It's almost like they're either afraid or just too lazy to even go about trying to do that. But he needs his rogues gallery, okay? I'm just saying, alright? He needs his own villains. He needs his own issues with his own villains. I'm not saying you have to go and give him a Green Goblin or whatever, but I am saying you need to give him someone close to that level. Someone that he has to deal with on a regular basis. The Assessor was not it. You keep that guy away. You keep that 616 Miles thing away. Both of those were honestly bad. And I don't know if you want to bring Prowler back, but enough with this jump hopping, bringing people back who he's fought before, who were terrible villains to begin with. The Prowler thing is something that stretches back to the Ultimate Comics, and yeah, he's not fighting Prowler now, but it's one of those things where like Marvel doesn't know what they want to do with him, and we're not gonna even address the fact that his uncle Prowler being the Prowler in the 616 and the real Prowler being in the 616 is just kind of not addressed, at least not to my knowledge. I'll have to look into that a little more. But yeah, like, give Miles his own villains, give Miles his love interest, let her be more present on the Miles side of things, not just the Spider-Man side of things. They have the makings of a really good world for Miles himself. It's like they're too afraid to go at it and just do it. Look, Marvel, if you need me to come in there and write Miles, I will do it, okay? I will sit there and I will come up with like 5 to 10 villains. I will literally sit there and dedicate some time to coming up with some well-rounded, interesting villains for Miles, and let that be his rogues gallery. And then you know what I'll do next? I'll go and I'll grab that love interest and I don't know, make her closer to him in his everyday life. I don't know, something, because again, she feels like a black cat more so than a Mary Jane. And again, he's not Peter, okay? I get it. He's not supposed to have the same type of situation as Peter. But my point is, it would be nice if he had the other side of that. And that, look, okay, that's my soapbox, okay? So we'll see what happens with this run for Miles, and I really hope it's good. Oh, I forgot to mention, Misty Knight shows up in this trailer too, and that is very interesting. Misty Knight, ever since she was in the Luke Cage TV show, she's just been one of my favorites. So it's good to see her pop up in his story, because Misty Knight doesn't get enough attention, in my opinion, in the comics. She kind of pops up here and there, and then she's not around, or she didn't show up again until another 2 years or something like that. So it's good to see Misty Knight there. We do see more of Miles's issues in his personal life with school and struggling to be Spider-Man. Again, that's a Spider-Man staple. That's what Spider-Man is. So that's a good thing. But yeah, like I said, we will see what this new writer has, if he has what it takes to take on or to make Miles stand out and have people shut up about this whole thing about Miles not being as important or not being as good as he was when he's in the Ultimate Universe, because he's in the 616 universe. Because again, it doesn't matter that he's in the 616 universe. It can still work. If there can be 2 or 3 different Flashes in the DC universe running around at the same time, then there can be 2 Spider-Man running around in Marvel at the same time. They can make it work. They're just not trying hard enough, and that's partially because they just don't have the right writers doing it, or the right writers working on it. So again, like I said, Marvel, if you need someone to help write, look, I'm right here. Obi-Han will write for you, and I will help you fix your Miles problem and your Peter problem, even though you're probably not going to let me fix your Peter problem, because Nick Spencer tried to fix your Peter problem, and we see what you did with that. But I will hope that Miles is fair game. I don't know if they're just not trying hard enough or what. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Let me know what you expect to see in Miles' new comic. And if you have any suggestions for Miles' series and what you think they should do going forward, let me know that too. With all that said, thank you for watching, and remember, we have the high ground. Catch you later.